Well, hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jen, also known as Boston Jen on Ravelry and Boston Jen 1 on Instagram. I am here today to give you a completed studio tour. I rearranged my entire craft room over the course of December, and then of course it's taken a couple months since then of tweaking and rearranging and modifying things to really work for my workflow and all of the crafty goodness that happens down in this space. So I will share with you some videos of what it used to look like before, some of the transitions that we made, the painting that was done, moving of furniture and whatnot, and then I will do a finished tour with a little bit more detail about spaces that I rearranged and why I made some of those decisions. So settle in and I hope you enjoy. Emptying out this cabinet so that I can get things moved out so we can rearrange. This is the layout that I think I've settled on. I've switched the places of the bookcase and the cabinet, and put the table against this wall and the TV will go over it. I'm playing around with having that stool in the corner with my bust form on it, so we'll see if I keep that there. Wondering where all my stuff is that I took out of my room. It's currently taking over all of Dan's room. Oh my goodness. All right, in the process of resetting up this room, I'm going to start by sorting out all of this yarn. So the two baskets down here have project leftovers, mostly like DK and worsted weight stash. And then a lot of these other bins are acrylic yarns that I use for toys and baby blankets and things like that. So these two here, and then also those two bins there. And I'd like to get those sorted better because I feel like every time I'm looking for yarn for a toy or a little accent color, I'm having trouble finding them. These other two bins are all fingering weight yarns that are not meant for socks. They'll be sweaters or shawls or things. So those can probably pretty much go right back into bins. And then there is still some yarn up in these bins up here. Some Bernat velvet in this left side black bin. And then the right side black bin has some infinite twist yarn and some of my hand spun. What I'm doing with the acrylic is sorting it right now by color. So I'm going to do neutrals in that top right one, full skeins or larger amounts of bright colors on that bottom right one, little skeins on the left, and then on the top left is all Lion Brand Woolies Thick and Quick, so really thick, super bulky yarns. So that is the sorting system so far. I guess we will see how it goes. Okay, it's probably not going to look like I made any progress, but I really have. I've sorted through all of my wool that is DK and worsted weight, and that's in these two bins here. And then this bin is all project leftovers for projects that are special, that if something happened to them, I may want to repair them. This little cubby is full of yarn that I'm going to give away to that local school that I recently bought some things from. Then I've got all of my glitzy yarn, which is fun for toy projects. I've got little scraps, all acrylic weight, bigger skeins of acrylic weight color. Then I've got acrylic yarn that's neutrals and then sort of grays and blacks. And then the heavier weight stuff there. So I am going to take a break for the rest of the evening. Things are coming along nicely around here. I've already moved things around 3 or 4 times, but I guess we'll see if they stay where they are now. For now, we've got on in the top of this green cabinet On the top shelf, the first two sections are full of fingering weight yarn that's meant for sweaters or shawls, and then the top right section is hand spun. Then on the bottom left, we have DK weight full skeins. In the middle, we have sweaters quantities, and on the right, we have worsted weight full skeins. So that's what we've got in the cabinet. You see my beautiful sash that I won again this year. I've started filling the bookcase, and what we've got on the bottom two corners, I have old scrapbooks that are kind of in janky old binders. The three woven baskets in the middle there are all worsted weight wool scraps that I could use for other projects. I've got a lot of photo album scrapbooks in the middle there. Then in this row, we've got all of the 50-gram skeins of self-striping sock yarn, spinning fiber, fingering scraps, and some sort of partial larger skeins of fingering weight yarn that I can pair together for shawls, DK weight yarn that's already balled up and so it's not in the other cabinet, and then fingering weight that's either full skeins that are skeined up, some that I've pulled aside for my friend Laura that she's already picked out, and then 100-gram balls. And that's what we've got so far. I've got some pom-poms and some spinning accessories to put together up there. And there's still a lot more to do. Let me pan back here. The room is a giant disaster, but we're making progress. Oh, let me also show you. So one of my focuses is trying to get things that I don't use all the time out of the way. So down here we've got super bulky and acrylic yarns in neutral colors on the bottom. Then we've got all the brightly colored acrylics, the metallics, and all the stuff to make stuffed animals, so polyfill pellets and safety eyes and noses. And then I've got my fabric stash on the bottom left, and then yarn for the Christmas stockings that I make, and acrylic yarn, minis, and scraps. So all of that fits in there. I tend to make toys just for birthdays and for Christmas, so I don't need those easily accessible all year round. And then up in my cabinet here, it's not super easy for me to access. I do have a stool here, so I'm gonna step up. But I've put things up here that I don't need to access often. So I have all of the Harry Potter books on CD, so those are up there, and then leftovers from special projects that I would repair if I needed to. And then I just bagged up all of my swatches and I put them up here. So again, we'll see if this is the final resting place for all of these things, but they don't need to take up the valuable real estate in my cubbies. Welcome back to the studio. It is Sunday, January 3rd, 2021, and I've done a little bit more work in my room, so I thought I would show you what things are looking like now. So all of the yarn was in the top of this cabinet last time I showed it to you, but I've added a few things down here. I love using glass jars, so I've got colored pencils and markers and things like that, crochet hooks, scissors, and other little needles and needle stoppers and things like that. Everything is still sort of subject to change, but we're getting there. On the lower part of the hutch, I used to have all of the kids' craft supplies, and now those have kind of moved mostly out of my room into the other side of the cellar. So in this middle sort of open section here of the hutch, I have most of my scrapbooking supplies, page protectors on the left, and actual pattern paper and photos and stickers and things on the right. And then in this basket, I've got some pens and markers and other tools that I use for scrapbooking, which I don't do a lot anymore, but it's stuff I'm unwilling to get rid of at this point. Then underneath on the very bottom on the left, we have kitchen cotton yarn that I use for cozies and dishcloths. In the middle, I have pictures and basically all the contents of Dan's baby book that I haven't put back together for him. And then all of the acrylic paints and paintbrushes that the kids use on the right. All right, let's look at the big IKEA cabinet here. I've added some decorations to the top. That big toolbox was my grandfather's, and those cool scissor things were given to me by my friend Mindy. My best friend Chris gave me that Stars Hollow print, and there's just some other special knickknacks up there. Let's come back down, and I guess we'll kind of work from left to right. I've got knitting books and some non-knitting books over here, mostly pattern books and things like that. This space is still empty, which I'm rather enjoying. This is my scale that I use for measuring yarn for different projects. Then I've got some hand combs that I was given with my spinning wheel and some organic cotton yarn that I haven't used yet. And then this right section here is all stitch dictionaries and other books that have different kinds of patterns and things in them that I can use for design. And my mom made this little elephant in 1971. And I think that was in my room as a baby. This second row down you've already seen, so it has sock yarn here, DK weight yarn, fingering scraps, spinning fiber, and then 50 gram skeins of yarn. Then we've got some more scrapbooking supplies, and then 3 full cubes full of photo albums that are scrapbooks that are completed. And then room here, I have 2 of those red albums that are the same as the black ones. One of them will eventually contain the December daily that I didn't quite get to this past December, and some other scrapbooking tools. And then my Nitty Naughty is hanging off there for now. And then the bottom row has photo albums in the bottom left and right. Then I have sort of some other project crafts, so watercolor and embroidery supplies in there, stuff for designs including swatches, and then my other spinning tools. And I'm not sure if I will leave all of these little tags on there forever, and if I do, I may change so that they're kind of all the same. A lot of them, I guess, are the same variation on this little blue card here, but I might change that out at some point. We'll have to see. But for now, it's a good, for me, when things are out of sight, it's very out of mind, and I tend not to use stuff. So, I didn't mention my sewing supplies that are in there. But anyways, those were there last time as well. And then again, these 3 neutral baskets have leftover scraps of DK and worsted weight wool. Let me give you an overview of just how much a mess the room still is. Dan is hoping to hang the TV over this table tomorrow. But we did patch up that wall. I do still think it needs to be primed and painted, but that's where the TV used to be, and it took off a good hunk of the wall when that came down. And then here I've just kind of stuck up some art, which is not permanent, but they're all hung with these small command hooks. And the idea for these is that I could hang up a shawl project or something that I've designed or a finished object, and then get a nice picture of it here on this beautiful blank white wall. And then in the meantime, I can put other things up there, and those little hooks won't be in the way. Even if a hook ends up behind the finished object, I don't think you will see it. I still have some art and other things that I want to figure out where they're going, but I've done a little bit more up here. I restuck, these are just some foam core boards covered in fabric on the top and the back of these 2 sections, but they really needed to be tightened up and restuck. And then some more jars with some little notions and supplies. And then over on the right side, I actually added more buttons to this rainbow button jar collection I've got going here. Let's move that so you can see. So yeah, these are baby food jars that Dan's dad used to use for nails and bolts and screws and things. But I kept them, and I love the way that they look. So yeah, we still have a ways to go, but I am very happy with how it's coming along. I still haven't decided if I'm going to leave my armchair where it is now, which I'll show you in a second, or if I'm going to move it closer to the edge of the desk there. So we'll see. There's plenty of room for it on either side. I'm kind of comfortable with it where it is. Dan seems to think it would work better further over. And then I think I'm also going to use the smaller side of the chalk wall right next to the door there to put some of those prints and photos and things that the kids have given me. I'm realizing I didn't show you what's up top here. This print, my niece, Will and Ayla and Will, I guess, niece and nephew, made for me when they were little with their mom's help, of course. A crochet bunny that my grandmother made. And then I don't even know what you call that kind of art. But I enjoyed this little hippo, and again, I think that was part of my nursery as a kid. And then this is my finished Nanaimo cardigan on my dress form. So I'm very excited about that. I need to get some pictures of it on me pretty soon, but that's what things are looking like around here. I'm excited to spend a little more time this week putting all of this other stuff away and having a nice, clean, fresh space in which to create. All right, are you ready for the finished tour? We've just come in the door, and I'm actually going to back up a little bit to start all the way at the left side of the room, where you'll see the finished collage wall. And all of the kids' chalkboard drawings. These have probably changed since I originally recorded. And that lovely sheepy print up there I got at Savers, one of the secondhand stores that I go to. The others are pretty much all art that the kids or I have made over the years. Then we've got my needle storage in this handy little system here on my cabinet. It's a great way to just keep all my circular needles tidy and in one place. And then on the edge of the cabinet, I have my ball winder and my Swift you will see at the end. Inside this yarn, inside the cabinet, the yarn has not changed since when I originally shared with you, though I did change out a few of the decorations on the top there. And what's in the rest of the cabinet has stayed the same. More scrapbooking stuff on the bottom, paint supplies, some cotton yarn, and things like that. And I've mostly kept my dress form in the corner there, my little mannequin. It's right now wearing the Boxing Day bonus shawl, which is one of my patterns. And now for the big IKEA cabinet here, most of this has stayed the same. What I did change out though was on the bottom, far left and far right, I took out the photo albums and put those underneath the counter where that floral, curtain is. So those are there because I don't access them very much. And instead I put yarn for the kids' toys that I make them. So I've got the poly pellets and stuffing and safety eyes and stuff in the left side, and then different yarns in the right side. The rest of the contents of this cabinet have stayed the same, and it's working really well. You'll see that I do kind of have a mostly empty shelf here, and I've been putting my handspun in that for now, which has worked out nice. Let me just give you a quick peek up top because I think I've changed out maybe a couple things up there. All right, moving over to the table. I try to keep the surface clear whenever I can. That's not always possible. Down here, the box that you're seeing on the top shelf is some scrapbooking supplies, and then one of those letterboard kind of signs. And then this is just some extra stuff that I haven't used, and some more command strips and things that I could use to hang stuff. So it's more just supplies. And then the clear bin is full of memorabilia that I haven't dealt with yet. And then I've got recycling bins for paper in the middle, plastics and stuff on the left, and trash on the right. Moving up to the top of the table, I've got some decorations, a drawing that my friend Marta's son Rock drew for me when I arrived at their house in Spain, my calendar, some of my word of the year stickers that I haven't used yet, and some supplies for a little doodling project that I've been working on, and some work supplies. And then the TV is over that. And then we've got the rest of the cabinet space. Again, most of this is the same as what you saw before. Below it, we've got project bags on the right, and then scraps of fingering weight yarn in the two metal bins that you see there. And then that black bag is full of whips that haven't seen the light of day in a very long time. Here's one little detail I forgot to share with you. My friend made this for me several years ago, but I decided to repaint it and make it match the colors in the space a little better, and then I just reattached the jars. But I'm really happy with the way that that came out. It goes nicely with the fabrics that I've used, and these are just foam core board covered in fabric and taped on the back. And I have the same thing over here, a frame that my niece Ayla gave me, and then all the multicolored buttons. I also moved this and changed out some of the decorations here as well. and hung up to cover some paint that had been removed. This was a painting my niece Riley did, and this is a leftover of a Rhinebeck sock blank from Andre Sue knits from when she used to make them, and I really like the way that that all came together. It's kind of nice to just use art to cover things that you don't necessarily want to. I could take the time and patch that all up, but I'm not sure it's worth the effort. And then just some other little decorations here in the corner. I've got my sewing machine up on the counter and my threads, some other tools. And then again, underneath it, the curtain really hasn't changed. There are 4 large Tupperware bins under there that have yarn and fabric in them. Above that, we have a canvas. That's a photo of my niece Ayla that I took. And then this is the wall that was blue. It is now white. And I do have a couple of those clear command hooks on there, and when I take pictures of finished projects, I can hang them up there and get a really nice shot of them. I've kind of left some socks and things up there for now. And I really like this little hanging here, and having scissors handy because my Swift is here for when I wind yarn. It's handy to have that there, and then the socks just look cute hanging from it. And I've just got notes and drawings and a picture of my grandfather and me and some other things up top there. And then in this cabinet, I sort of rearranged things a bit, but I've got clothespins and pins that I've gotten from other people, pom-poms. I think this one, oh, that's badges from different events that I've gone to. And then plastic bags and the like are in here. This one has all of my supplies for business cards and pins for the Down Cellar Studio Podcast and things that I give out when I meet folks at festivals. This one has tags and the stuff for that letterboard and old videos that I can't seem to part with. Have you ever seen that one? It's a good one. All right. And then you can see I do have a chair here that I use for spinning. There's a crochet project, a blanket project underneath it, and then a basket full of whips next to the armchair. So I think that is everything that I wanted to show you. I'll do sort of one more kind of slow pan around the room. If you have questions about how and why I store things the way that I do, I would love to hear from you. But it's been really fun to really intentionally think about how I want this space laid out, where I want things stored, and to tweak things as I've gone. So this is my space. Well, that wraps it up, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up, and if you would subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That way you'll never miss any of the crafty content that I'm sharing here. If you have any suggestions or comments, I would love it if you would comment down below. I always love to hear how folks organize and what tips and strategies work best for you. So I would love it if you would comment down below, and I will catch up with you again real soon. Bye-bye.